It's already late. Where's Arjun?
He's looking for universities, right? Maybe he's held up there.
You look so tense. By the way, did you get to choose the university?
No, I'm unable to find a university that meets my requirements.
Whoa. Meet your requirements? What exactly are you looking for?
I'm looking for a place that gives me an opportunity to grow, to excel, to invent, and to innovate. I want to be a part of an institution that paves my way to discover myself and to witness the world moving forward in technology. I want to go to a place that sets a futuristic pattern of education filled with ideas and radical performances. Basically, I want to live my dream.
Sagar University. Live the dream.
So if you're good to go, Captain, we'll. Am I audible, Captain?
Yeah, you are. You are. Actually, 10:03. We'll wait for 2 minutes. 10:05.
Okay.
Srinivas, I think we're all good. I think we've got some 84, 85 participants.
Good to go. Yeah, we are 10:05. Captain, with your permission, should we start?
Yes, please.
Sure. So, warm welcome to all the students and to the speakers for this session today morning on the management education of future perspective. We're going to give an introduction to the specialized courses as well as the job opportunities available. I'd like to introduce our speakers for today. I take this opportunity of introducing Captain Nagaraj Rao. He is the Dean for School of Commerce and Management Studies for post-graduation studies and Professor of Leadership and Strategy at Dayanand Sagar University, Bangalore. Captain Nagaraj Rao is a master mariner and specialized in navigation and ocean engineering, an MBA in human resource management, and advanced specialization in strategic leadership from University of Illinois, USA. Prior to his decade and a half in academia, he has spent over 20 years in merchant navy and commanded state-of-the-art ships. He has the unique distinction of leading multinational crews through arduous circumstances across the world. A warm welcome to Captain. I take this opportunity of introducing the next speaker, Professor Alok Chakravarti. Professor Alok Chakravarti has done his master's from IIT Kanpur and has worked with organizations like IBM, Siemens, Wipro, and ITC Infotech before joining academics. He has worked in various roles such as business analyst, project manager, pre-sales consultant. He teaches subjects like business statistics, predictive analytics. He is also leading the Center of Proficiency Enhancement in Business Analytics, which strives to uplift students' profile by giving them hands-on experience or hands-on exposure to analytics in business functions, and also leading the data science platform such as DataIQ. A warm welcome to Professor Alok Chakravarti. I take this opportunity of introducing the next speaker for the day, Professor Ravi Shankar Iyer. Professor Ravi Shankar Iyer is an engineer by education, an alumnus of IIT Mumbai, IIT Bombay, and an MS from the University of Kentucky, USA. He is also a chartered financial analyst. Professor Ravi brings financial market expertise across capital markets, banking, wealth, and asset management. He has worked extensively in financial technology areas and for investment banks and technology service firms in his 30-plus year career. He has worked mainly in Japan, Singapore, and for clients in the UK and the US. A warm welcome to Professor Ravi Shankar Iyer.
Thank you.
I take this opportunity of introducing Professor Dr. Rahul Dighe. Professor Dr. Rahul Dighe has deep subject matter expertise in innovation and supply chain management. He was an innovation leader at IBM India. Dr. Dighe teaches a wide variety of subjects, which includes design thinking, supply chain management, and innovation. He has held senior positions in renowned software product companies, including IBM, JDA, Persistent Systems in India, Japan, and in the US. He holds a BTech from IIT Bombay and MS and PhD from MIT, Cambridge, US. A warm welcome to Professor Dr. Rahul Dighe.
Thank you.
I take this opportunity of introducing the next speaker, Professor Srinivas Iyengar. Professor Srinivas Iyengar has been in information technology and finance space for over 25 years, managing business across Europe, US, and India. Srini has been recognized as one of the top 50 global thought leaders and influencers on health tech by a leading global platform. With 20 plus years of experience in healthcare and technology, catering to global market, he has been in a unique position to bring world perspective to initiatives. He is involved into get the outside in approach. Srinivas has been mentoring startups in emerging deep tech, data analytics, and healthcare space. Srini is a chartered accountant by qualification, technologist by profession, and musician by passion. A warm welcome to Professor Srinivas Iyengar. We then move on to the next speaker for the day. I'd like to welcome Professor Anand Popli. Professor Anand is an associate professor and director corporate relations for management school at Dayanand Sagar University. He is a senior level executive with 30 years of experience in global IT service, management consulting, and academia. Prior to joining DSU, Anand was head and director of AIG Data Services India Private Limited. Anand possesses a PGDM from NMIMS and MCA from DAVV Indore. In addition, he is a certified Green Belt Global Career Counselor and certified MBTI and strong interest inventory practitioner. A warm welcome to Professor Anand Popli.
Thank you. Good morning.
So with this, we move on to the first session of the day, and I would like to request our Honorable Dean, Professor Captain Nagaraj, to please set the context and introduce the various specialization to all of our participants for today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Shinde sir. And that was a wonderful introduction. Warm welcome to all our participants today. Good morning. It's a pleasure speaking to all of you young participants who probably are looking for a career in management studies. May I request my colleague Professor Rajan to share the deck, please.
It's already shared, sir.
Mm,
1 second, sir.
yeah, he's hearing it now. Yeah.
Okay.
So, good morning once again. And as introduced by Mr. Shinde, my colleague, my name is Professor Nagaraj Subbarao. I'm the Dean for the School of Management Studies at Dayanand Sagar University, the PG programs. And we have very successful MBA and Executive MBA programs, amongst other certificate programs, and so on and so forth. So, Professor Rajan, can you progress, please? The next slide. Yeah, so we have actually very carefully thought through our programs, and our vision is to be known as the best business school for aspiring management leaders in the country, with industry-focused curriculum and practice. So, as you can see that we are here, our ethos is first of all to open up higher education in the management space to all deserving people, wherever they come from across this great country, and whatever social or economic background that they might come from, and we aspire to make them management leaders while firmly focused on curriculum and practice. So in short, we welcome everybody who merits a place at Dayanand Sagar University to come and get a world-class education at our school. Please go ahead, Professor Raj. Our mission is to create value for students. So students are a very, very important stakeholder for us. Business and society by providing intellectual leadership, advancing the science and practice of management, and developing confident leaders to be the agents of change in a world driven by data, technology, and innovation. So the world is changing around us, industry is changing around us, and we take our association with industry very, very seriously. So in that context, we are cognizant of the fact that industry wants great students coming in to join them. So we work with our students very closely and carefully in preparing them for jobs ahead that are not only good but sustainable. My colleagues will speak more about it as we go ahead, about the quality of jobs that are offered and what kind of careers you can build. Yes, please. So we are very, very careful about what we are doing. Like I said earlier, we're also cognizant of what we are doing. We have looked at our program very carefully and have rested it on 3 pillars. Fundamentally, in any school of higher education, the faculty always takes top priority. And we have a plethora of stars. You're meeting some of them today. You can actually visit our website to see the quality of faculty that we have on board. All our faculty, without exception, whether they are scholarly or whether they are practice, have fantastic educational qualifications. They come from world-class institutions like the IITs, the IIMs, the MITs of the world, SDA Bocconi, which is a top 25 management school in the world in Italy, the Hult School of Business, the University of Illinois, University of Kentucky, and so on and so forth. So I'm not going into every school that our faculty come from, and many of them have held leadership positions or senior positions in industry. So this gives them a good idea about what is happening in the academic space. It gives them an excellent idea about what is happening in industry, and most of them have been leaders themselves. So they know what is leadership, they understand it, and they can pass it on easily to young people like our students. We've also given very careful attention to our curriculum. So our curriculum is not something that we have borrowed from different parts. Our curriculum is very, very carefully thought out. We have recognized the fact that the world is changing around us. It is digitizing rapidly, and there is technology coming in to all spaces, whether it is artificial intelligence or machine learning or big data or analytics or the new age practices in supply chain management, IT and systems, we recognize the fact that the world is changing. So we have looked at our curriculum very carefully. We talk to industry leaders in India and we shape our curriculum. We follow predominantly what is called as a case-based approach. That is, we talk about case studies or real industry problems in class, and then we sort of explain concepts to these cases. So this is very interesting because it allows our students to develop sharp problem-solving capabilities. They understand problems and they're able to solve them. And that is why industry hires young people like you, because they want you to come and solve problems for them. There is no other reason why they hire young people. They want the energy, they want the skill, they want the competence, and they want the problem-solving capability. So we are one of the few schools, I can tell you, who have world-class case studies. These are analyzed by our professors, and by the time you finish your program, you're really well set to go and get a robust career in industry. And eventually, we work, like I said earlier, very closely with industry in shaping our curriculum. There is a constant exchange between industry and us, and we sort of stay aligned with their requirements. Why do we do this? So that students can get better jobs and are placed better in more sustainable careers as we go forward. Yes, please. So very quickly, to take you through the broad program architecture that we have 102 credits, which meets all regulatory requirements, whether it is the AICTE or the UGC or international requirements for an MBA program. And you, in the first 1 year, you will get a robust grounding in general management. So you will learn accounting, you will learn marketing, you will learn organization behavior, economics, international business. So these are all general management core and foundation subjects, and you are nicely set up as a general manager. As you move into semester 3 and 4, the specializations start kicking in. And we have 8 specializations. Again, one of the largest specializations that is offered by a B school. Why do we do that? Because we want students to have sustainable careers, and you can choose 2 specializations. So you can major in, say, business analytics, and you can minor in supply chain management. So now you have opened up, or you have an opportunity to work in different verticals. And all these specializations have been very carefully thought through, and you can see that we have stayed cognizant of how the world is changing. So again, not many schools have specializations like artificial intelligence or new age practices in supply chain management, business analytics and data science, information technology and systems, along with the old economy specializations like human resource management, marketing management, finance, entrepreneurship. So you want to be an entrepreneur, or you want to drive change within an organization, entrepreneurship management is a great place to be, getting your MBA in. Also, we are supported, and my colleagues will talk about it later in greater detail. We're supported by the Centers of Proficiency Enhancement in, say, supply chain management, which is older than business analytics. Both these are doing great work in preparing students with a hands-on capability for the future. We're also thinking of setting up a COPE, that is a Center for Proficiency Enhancement in HR and Leadership. As we go ahead, we're working on that right now. And so you have great opportunities to get not only a theoretical understanding and concept of management, but also, more importantly, a hands-on understanding of managerial practices, which again translates into better, higher paying jobs. Yes, Raj. So one of the schools, few schools, supply chain management, new age practices, artificial intelligence and machine learning. Professor Dige and Professor Iyengar will talk more about it. Analytics, Professor Alok will talk about it. And so again, Dayanand Sagar University has stayed very close to what is happening to industry and what is happening to jobs for the future. We are not stuck in the past. We don't believe in teaching you how to swim from a textbook. We believe that if you want to learn how to do something, then go and do it yourself with your hands. And so we have brought in new age technologies with new age practices and some really top class platforms that you can actually get your hands, dirty upon and work with. Yes, please. So we are also cognizant of the fact that this program is not just for academics. We also understand that you need to develop as human beings. After all, people who come to us are young men and women, boys and girls. So we work on assessing you. We get you to self-assess, and we also get you to be aware of yourselves and how can you change. We assist you in being able to manage yourselves, managing a network that is a developmental network who will come to your support as you go through life. And how do you manage a team? That is an important aspect of being a manager. Being able to manage a team is critical. So these are some things you will learn. You will also be counseled, you will be coached, you will be put through something called as a Project Roshni, that is a lifelong learning experience where you will learn many different so-called soft skills like time management, negotiation, and so on and so forth. And we also sort of, I wouldn't say profile, but we assess you for learning styles, cognitive ability, memory acumen, and help you in understanding yourself and doing much better. Yes, Professor Raj. So something unique to the Anand Sagar University, the MBA program, is our ability to imagine. And we thought that while you are here in a fantastic university, you should also get access to other great universities across the world. So we have taken courses from them. So for example, we have taken a course called Fundamentals of Visualization with Tableau, something that is really important to demand analytics and accounting analytics, project management. We have borrowed these from top class, for say from Rutgers or Wharton or the University of California, and then we have brought them here. These courses are taught by our professors, so they will handhold and guide you, but you can get a qualification or you can get a certificate from these universities at your own leisure. So, and this will strengthen not only your academic learning, but it will also give you great confidence and allow you to get better jobs because it will populate your CV and resume by the time you're leaving us. Again, a unique practice to our school, and we will help you in actually making your resume extremely strong. So these are not empty words, but you will populate your resume with a lot of workshops guided by us, and of course we will take care of the incidental expenses and so on and so forth. Yes, please. So this is something that really fascinates me. I believe that as young men and women, you must have an understanding of the culture of across the world. We live in a connected world. We are connected with almost every part of the world, whether it's the African continent or Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia, the North America, South America, Europe, Australia, and so on and so forth. There is trade flowing, there is business flowing, there is outsourcing, offshoring, all sorts of practices happening. You might work for a multinational corporation dealing with Americans, sitting in Bengaluru, or you could be sitting in Boston dealing with people in, say, Mumbai or Bengaluru. And you need to understand culture. You also need to understand how foreign best practices work. So we have got a unique program called the ICAT. It's the Industry and Culture Appreciation Tour. We sort of encourage our students to go ashore, to go abroad and spend a week in, say, so you attend a foreign university, you get some amount of foreign exposure, you get some amount of understanding of best practices across the world. Of course, this is subject to travel restrictions which are in place at the moment, And hopefully, as we go forward, these will lift, and then we can put ICAT into place. Generally, it happens at the cusp of the second and third semester, and this is about a 5 to 1 week program. You can see this is a picture of our students abroad. All of them look extremely happy and bright. I'm sure they've learned a great deal. And this is a batch that has just finished their program and left us, and they are doing well in industry. Yes, please. Right. And as they say, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So we believe that you also need to sort of have a more holistic learning. We invite thought leaders from across the world, and we've got a robust student-driven program. Students do a lot of work by themselves. So they invite these leaders. We have outstanding thought leaders from across the world who have come and lectured at Dayanand Sagar University. We've also got great hobby clubs. We have got fests. We have got competitions which go on. We have got cultural associations. So we give one of the most well-rounded and holistic education. We're very proud of some of our initiatives. We have had about 40 speakers coming and speaking from countries as far as South Africa, to South Korea, to Australia, to the United States, Europe, and Germany. There was the CEO of Siemens Energy speaking to us from Berlin. And also we have had great professors like Richard Boyatzis, who is a world-renowned professor in the area of behavioral science. So we are not just about academics, we are also about culture, sport, competition, clubs, and so on and so forth, giving students one of the most robust and holistic education that you can get anywhere in any B school in this part of the world, in this country. So I would like to now hand over to while thanking all participants and my colleagues, I would like to hand over to Professor Alok Chakravarti, who is the Professor for Business Analytics. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
We would now like to take the opportunity of welcoming Professor Alok Chakravarti, who will talk about the business analytics and the decision science. Over to Professor Alok Chakravarti.
Thank you. Thank you, Shinde sir. And thank you, Professor Nagaraj Subbarao. So I consider it as my privilege to be part of this exciting session, speaking to you, sharing some of the thoughts. In fact, I remember, when we were sort of at the cusp of our career and which direction we should take. I think it's an exercise in setting the right direction so far as your career and your future is concerned. Okay, I wish we had got something like this when we were of your age. So I'll be talking more about the business analytics specialization out here. And if you really note, the world around us has changed very significantly. There is a data explosion that has happened around us, and organizations will do better. And if they want to sort of distinguish themselves from the competitive landscape and carve a niche for themselves, they would do better to take advantage of the data that is around them. Yeah, and that is where this business analytics specialization comes in. So what we are noticing is that regardless of the functional area that you operate in, be it marketing, be it supply chain, be it HR, everywhere the decision making in the businesses today is driven by data. There is, gut feel is definitely has a role to play, but majority of the decisions, the bulk of the decisions are going to be driven by the data. And you as a aspiring professional will do, it will do a world of good if you can know how to harness the power of data and into decision making. Okay. Next slide, please. So my suggestion to all of you would be that, understand what you can, how you can leverage this, the power of this specialization called business analytics. And I firmly believe that business analytics makes sense along with a domain. So we have basically, we offer you a major and a minor specialization choice. Okay. So for example, you can take finance and analytics, and therefore, look for opportunities in fintech areas. Okay. Or you can do marketing and analytics, or you can do supply chain and analytics. So I firmly believe that analytics is all about decision making, and it has to, be aligned with a particular domain. Okay. And one thing that I would definitely like to sort of comment upon is that today, the way the world is changing, you will do well to learn some skills which will not only be true today, but also will be true tomorrow. So analytics is one such skill. Okay. If you learn analytics, you can be in any industry, and you can not only be relevant today, but you will also be relevant tomorrow. So let me just spend some time in sharing what are the types of analytics that we teach in our program. Okay. So as you can see, there are 4 types: descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. So descriptive is essentially, explaining what has already happened. Okay. And diagnostic is, when you see something interesting and you want to dive deeper, so explain why it happened. And predictive is basically forecasting. And, that is where the real value of analytics comes in, because if you can take some decisions based on anticipation. Yeah. For example, the current COVID crisis that we are talking about, yeah, or we are witnessing. If somebody had, sort of predicted that this is the kind of oxygen requirement that will occur. Okay. Well, some lives and some more lives could have been saved. So power and value of predictive analytics is from the fact that you can anticipate certain things that are going to come your way. Yeah. And prescriptive. So prescriptive is the highest maturity, so far as business analytics is concerned, because you are not only anticipating what will happen, you are also sort of prescribing what you should do. Okay. Next slide, please. So this is another way of looking at the previous discussion that we just had. In the continuum of value and complexity, okay, prescriptive is the most valuable but highly complex. Okay. And it's always good to move from simple to complex, and that's what we do in our curriculum. Yeah. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. So just to give you a few examples, descriptive analytics would answer questions like what were our sales, what was our market share, something that you already know. Yeah. And predictive and prescriptive would be what is expected sales. Okay. See, if you know what is going to be your expected sales, you will do all your resource planning accordingly. You will probably, if supply chain guys come to know what is going to be expected demand, you can probably source raw material at a much cheaper rate, compared to the, fact that, when you actually, the demand hits your organization. Yeah. What is the expected market share? What product should we bring to the market, and things like that. So these are examples of predictive and prescriptive. Yeah. Next slide, please.
Look, just a minute. So
Sure.
students, you can post your questions in the Q&A box if you have any running questions, and our panel of experts will answer them as we go along. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah. So while our focus is on decision making, yeah, we also recognize that you need to actually get and experience the industry strength platforms and tools and technologies while you are still, undergoing this program. Okay, because one of the complaints that we hear from industry is that students are not industry ready. There is a lot of gap between industry and academia, and that's what Professor Nagaraj Subbarao was talking about, that we try our utmost to ensure that this gap is addressed. So one of the things that we are really proud of is the association with DataIQ Platform. And this is basically a platform which is, first of all, it is end to end. Okay, so it, as you would know, that analytics is not just about taking decision. It all starts from gathering the data, cleaning the data, doing some modeling work, and doing some exploratory decision making, and then finally taking a business decision based on that. So this platform provides that end-to-end thing, and the beauty of this is many people, people can come in different from different backgrounds. So there could be some of you who are afraid of coding. Okay, but if you can imagine, you can do the things in a drag and drop manner. So analytics should become very, very intuitive, and that is what this platform strives to do. But if you are somebody who would like to get into coding, this platform has that facility also. And the best part is it also leverages upon your existing knowledge. Suppose you already know R, suppose you already know Python, suppose you already know Tableau, you can leverage on that knowledge and use it in this platform. So it's an industry. What we have got this license for is for the enterprise platform from DataIQ. We are very grateful for this association. We are thankful to Professor Shankar, who has brought in this association to Dayanand Sagar University, and thankful to Professor Nagaraj Subbarao, who was instrumental in bringing this association for Dayanand Sagar University's MBA program. So we're very excited to provide this platform to our current batch of students and our upcoming batch of students. All right. I can see some questions coming up. Let me have a look. This is where I would have, when will the admission open? Okay, this is something. Wanted to know whether we can get any sort of e-certificate for this webinar.
Yeah, you continue. You continue.
Right. Any next slide? I don't think any. Yeah, I think I am sort of done. If any questions are there, would be happy to answer. Otherwise, I will now, invite Mr. Shinde.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And as far as the admissions and all is concerned, we will be answering all the queries online from the back end. Thank you so much, Professor Alok Chakravarti, for giving the insights of the specialization with respect to business analytics as well as decision science. Thank you so much. We now take this opportunity of inviting Professor Ravi Shankar Iyer. Professor Ravi Shankar Iyer will talk about financial services industry and technology as well as fintech. Over to you, sir.
Right. Yeah, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone, and a warm welcome. Thanks for being here, especially on a weekend. While Captain Nagaraj being in very, yet you take this one can be, and what I will try to do is tell you what's changing in the financial service industry, what's the emergence of fintechs do. And traditionally, if you take a step back, finance as a function, is one of the core functions. It's been there for centuries, right? Transform technology, so many channels in terms of careers that it's very hard to even define that in one session. I'll try to give you a flavor of what's changing, and then happy to take questions.
Ravi,
next slide, please.
Ravi, maybe you can put off your video. Your bandwidth would improve.
Sure.
Yeah.
Next slide, please. Yeah. So just for those who probably are new, finance and financial services is a broad term. Almost everyone can imagine in terms of traditional finance, in terms of insurance, money management, payments. All right, and all the activity is being digitized. Let me just explain. This was morning after a long time. I stepped out and I taken my wallet. I went to the shop and realized I never used my wallet. Right, and each of you has seen the transformation that has happened in the last 4 to 5 years, particularly in India, that you're able to do everything in a digital fashion, whether through your mobile or your laptop. So I think what's changing in the industry is the increasing use of technology, the focus on the customer experience, right? And most of us are managing things from home. And financial institutions and startups are sharpening their technology, they make it available, and also making the customer experience easy, right? So I think that's one of the things that you'll see is a common theme that's happening in the financial services. The next thing, I'll give you a sense of the size of what's happening. Go to the next slide, please. So as I said, finance as a function has been around for decades. And if you look at it globally, it's expected to be about 22 trillion. Yeah. So if you have a question, can I make a career? I think it's one of the sweet spots that one can always imagine, to be in the whole finance function. And particularly what we offer in the MBA program is a real foundation that covers a lot of basic understanding of concepts, a lot of the case studies as was talked about, so that essentially you can make the next step in terms of being a part of this whole global industry. And more importantly, that what is happening from a transformation is because of the pandemic, companies themselves are trying that function to essentially make it more responsive. Yeah. So I think it's accelerating the opportunities that are going to come up in this industry. We'll go to the next slide, please. And if you think it's just the word, no, it's also India. And we all are aware, right? India is among the third largest from a GDP. And in any country which is that large, finance is the core bedrock of anything. And it's almost a leading indicator of change. So whether we take in India, the banking sector, it's growing. It's at 2.5 trillion and growing, expected to grow at about 6%. We're also going to become one of the largest private wealth market, which means all the courses that we have on securities analysis and portfolio management becomes all the more relevant. As individuals, you must be seeing that the mutual fund industry is growing rapidly. And obviously from a payments, it's growing. So the message is the industry is growing. There's a lot of growth. And I think that's the reason it's probably a good sweet spot to sort of look as a career. So let's see what's changing. Yes, if you can go to the next slide, please. Now, what is happening in this industry is three things. There's a lot of other trends, but the most important ones are there's an accelerating digital transformation that's occurring. Right? I'll just give a simple example, but I'm pretty sure every one of you is actually able to do whatever they do, whether you invest in mutual funds or active in the stock markets or buying your insurance policies. Right? It's changed remarkably that it's all digital. The second is the emergence of fintech companies, and I'll sort of spend a minute or two on that because I think it's very important. And the other very, very fun happening is of money. I'm sure some have heard about it in terms of the bitcoins, the blockchain, and the digital currencies. Yeah, so these are three trends that is making a fundamental impact to the industry. So let's take a minute to each one of these. Next slide, please. Yeah, I'll just take a minute, but what this is doing is it's just not just the digitization. New technologies are being adapted by firms in this industry. Customer experience is expected to be very superior, and there's a lot of costs being cut to make it self-service. Yeah, so that's what the whole digital transformation means. Yeah. The next slide, please. And this is something which I will probably just cover also in detail. But over a period of time, as technology opened up and many small companies were able to actually work on the periphery of banks and the securities markets and started building small tools. And now the number of fintech companies have grown, and I have a slide to show you the numbers, but now fintech companies have become integral to the whole finance system. Banks and fintechs are getting into partnership. Banks do a lot of the core work in terms of marketing, administration, and loan servicing, whereas fintechs reach out to the customers because of their digital capabilities. Yeah. So that's the second trend. And the last trend, please, the next slide, please. This is those big technology changes in blockchain. There's a lot of fundamental ways of which when basic businesses are happening, whether it's lending, digital payments, we are all aware, right? Everyone does payments through UPI now. Smart contracts is something that's useful for trade finance and many other aspects. And cryptocurrencies and blockchain are emerging. And obviously, there's a lot of volatility, but central banks are now slowly introducing digital currencies. So you see the whole fundamental of finance, which is about money, is changing, and we still have to see what this means to everyone. Yeah. Yeah. The next slide, please. Yeah. And since I talked about fintech, and I just want to share some of the key things that are happening are changing rapidly, but fintech companies are allowing things like open banking, which is a big thing, which you don't actually bank with a fintech company, and the backend is a bank. AI and machine learning, and I'm sure you'll hear a little more about this from Professor Srinivas Iyengar, but the other is personalized advice platforms, insurance and pension, lending and crowdfunding, security, identity, mortgage, blockchain, and payment technology. So all these different aspects, which is just a small list, are being impacted by the fintech. Yeah. Are things that one needs to sort of develop the knowledge, and also if you have a focus on technology, then the opportunities to make a difference is going to be remarkably big. Yeah. Slide, that should be the last. Please. This is again just trying to show the target segments that these fintechs are focusing on, whether it's on the consumer, high net worth, small enterprise, B2B. So this is something that we're going to see a disruption coming up increasingly quickly in the next 2 to 3 years. And just to share some numbers, if you go to the next slide, please. The number of fintech companies emerging, it's split across the Americas, EMEA, and Asia Pacific. And India is also one of the hotbeds as far as fintechs are emerging. But what you can see is that the numbers, if you just add this, is going past, almost past 25,000 fintechs. And that's more than, what one would have imagined the number of financial institutions. Probably has eight to banks. A lot of fintechs that I've come across is going to just overtake all the different financial institutions. So I think this is where to keep a watch for the trends, but also see that this ecosystem is actually going to recreate a new industry. So I think, in a nutshell, I think this is a very exciting time. I think many of you who are going to be joining soon and are in a very sweet spot, see changes, and you're going to be part of that. And I think this is an opportunity like none other to be part of the finance function and the finance industry, and nothing less than what the kind of programs that Dayanand Sagar offers is going to make you ready to be part of this. Let's take a pause, and any questions I can see that in the chat box, but I'll hand it over to Mr. Shinde.
So thank you so much for giving the exposure in terms of the finance industry and technology with respect to fintech. Thank you so much. We'd now like to take the opportunity of inviting Professor Rahul Dige. He would be talking on innovation, supply chain management, information technology, and systems.
Thank you.
Over to Professor Rahul Dige.
Professor Rajan, could you share the slides, please? Okay, so I'm going to talk about 3 areas, 3 specializations, and all are quite different from each other. Although maybe supply chain management is somewhat connected to information technology. So let's start by understanding what is happening in the supply chain management area and the space today, right? So there are a host of changes that took place over the last 10 years, especially in India. E-tailers came in, became very popular, at least in the larger cities and slowly also in the smaller cities, that is Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, etc. So that made a massive change in terms of how trade is done, and goods are delivered, goods are transported and delivered to individuals. That increased substantially a number of roles, number of opportunities for people in with supply chain management knowledge and specializations. So if you go to any of the job sites, you will see basically a ton of job opportunities for supply chain management, right? And these will include essentially demand planner, warehouse manager, inventory manager, fulfillment management, and procurement. So the retailers and e-tailers is one area where tremendous changes have taken place, and that has opened up. As you can see, if you go to any leading management schools, including Dayan and Sagar, everywhere you will see that there is supply chain management and logistics specialization offered, and that has been triggered primarily by the changes in India and also in other countries in terms of how trade is done. Traditionally, also, manufacturing companies had significant important roles as in procurement, in factory planning and management, demand management and forecasting, and inventory management. So while supply chain management has always been important for the last 20, 25 years as a science and art to be practiced by managers, it has now taken a complete leap forward, and it has grown tremendously in terms of job opportunities. So what are we doing to serve the market? Serve the market as in to provide talent to the market. So what we are doing is, first thing is, I studied the syllabus when me and Captain Nagaraj Subbarao, we studied the syllabus of what universities in the US, maybe the MIT's, Harvard, I went to MIT, what a school like that offers and what is relevant. So they offer a very theoretical syllabus, right? A lot of mathematics, which actually, very frankly, is not very relevant to managers per se. Especially the syllabus has not been updated in many places. I'm not saying that that is the case all over the world, but certainly in a lot of the Indian universities, what I found out is there is simply sort of a duplication of syllabus simply because it has come from top 5, top 10 universities in the world. And is that really relevant? Is that really relevant for us? Is that really relevant for our Indian market and for you as students? And what I found, I feel very strongly, is that we need to have our own curriculum which is tailored for the market. And that is the work that we have been doing for the past 1.5 years. And we have seen success as a result of that. So what are the changes we have brought into the syllabus? One is it's completely focused on a digital outlook and approach to teaching supply chain management. That is, in a classroom, we behave as if you are working in a company. So that is where your job actually starts. You actually start playing roles, various roles, using commercial grade software. So software such as Zoho, which is an Indian company, but $300 million company, we use their software. We use software which is built in Italy, built in America. And we have a lab, we have a supply chain center of excellence, or COP, what we call it. And students actually do work on these tools. So what that does is it not only makes you IT savvy, does not require you to do any programming, of course, because you're a user. And the second thing is that it makes you very familiar with processes which are actually followed in the industry, used in the industry. But gives you a 6-month to 9-month edge, as opposed to other students who are also graduating with an SCM MBA, right? Maybe in Bangalore or other cities. So this edge is very lucrative to companies. And why is it lucrative? Because they don't need to find out whether you are actually, whether you actually have the liking, whether you have the aptitude for doing work of this nature, whether you actually can perform well in the job. Because our internship program also is tied into some of these retailers and e-tailers. So for example, Our students, two of our students did an internship and their project at Reliance Retail, and they are now part of Reliance Retail. What did they do there? They brought in processes, not only processes, but also tools that we have in our labs, introduced them and made some improvements in the existing inventory management processes. And that is what the company really liked. And they actually absorbed them, they hired them for that. PricewaterhouseCoopers is a very tough company to get into, consulting company, renowned, big four in the world. And they found value in what we teach, and they have taken some students from us as well in the last graduating batch. Other than that, there are other companies. So the point I'm making is that if you go and validate what I'm saying here, you'll get a quick validation for the fact that there are a plethora of these roles that I've mentioned here in the third bullet on job sites. And we will make you, the specialization here makes you job ready for these opportunities, right? And we use teaching methods which are very practical. I won't say that they are unique. I'm not saying that nowhere in the world they're used, but certainly in India, I would find it difficult to believe that other universities are also in teaching in a similar manner, which is essentially software based and based on processes used in the industry. And we have removed almost 95% of the math that is taught in many schools. And that is where students actually struggle with the supply chain management specialization, because it is taught in a very theoretical manner. So that's a bit about supply chain management. And you can post your questions as we go along. I will answer them. Any questions that are related to SCM, I will answer them. So let's go to the next slide. And let's talk about the IT specialization. So whenever MBA students, when they see a slide or when they see talk about IT, they think of programming. And that is not really so. So what does the market want from MBAs? Why does the market hire MBAs why do IT companies hire MBAs? The fundamental reason is that MBA people with MBAs are able to understand a general situation much better than the detail and the technicalities that engineers tend to stick to, right? So that's one reason. Second is MBAs can communicate a lot better. They're extroverted, they talk to people, they don't find it difficult to go and connect with different people. They can understand what customers want. So understanding what customers want is actually reported to save 80 to 90% of costs in the IT industry. If you understand wrong what customers want, then you can go on building software which actually the customers don't want, or they want very little of it. And this is where the role of a product manager is very critical. A product manager and a business analyst in a company. Product manager is a role where companies build their own products, stamp them, standard products out of the box. Companies like Infosys, Wipro, Cognizant, HCL, they don't so much build their own products, although Infosys, you may be knowing that built a product in Fintech a long time back and has been very successful. But primarily they build software to requirements of the customers, and getting hold of these requirements, understanding them and conveying to the development team and managing that entire cycle of developing software is a very critical role. The entire sort of software development cycle, the project is anchored on this role. It revolves around this hub. You can think of it like the center of gravity for the projects, very large projects. We are talking about several $1 million projects. And they are these roles, especially, of course, when you gather a little bit of experience, not the day you join, obviously, when you get into those roles, you have tremendous influence on the success of your company, right? So this is what we teach in our program. We don't teach programming. We don't teach coding and being able to learn, knowing the latest and greatest technologies. The other great thing about this program is that it is actually anchored in a partnership with the company, with a company that actually is in the fintech area. And they essentially teach our students, they give our students practical exposure to how requirements gathering, business analysis is done. I want to take a moment to clarify this. This is different from business analytics. Business analytics deals with a lot of data, analysis of data. and Professor Alok Chakravarti talked about it. That's very different. Here, essentially, the role is to understand what customers want from their software. Do they want X feature, Y feature, etc.? And that is what this specialization will teach you. There is next to nothing programming in this specialization, and you have the entire world open where, again, you can go to, I would recommend that you go to sites like Naukri or other similar sites and find out roles for systems analysts, business analysts, and product managers. So this is the second specialization that we have created over the past 1.5 years, and we are very excited that we have a partnership with Suryasoft. So yes, there is a question on SEM. I'll come to it as soon as I finish. So let's go to the third slide. Okay, that's it. Okay, so the third specialization I am actually part of is innovation and entrepreneurship. So I think everyone thinks of entrepreneurship as something when you start a company by yourself, right? And that's not only true. That's not the only area of opportunity. Entrepreneurship is today being promoted in large corporations. So large corporations actually create these incubators or small startups within them, where people are given the freedom to actually go and build a product and try to connect with salespeople internally and try to sell it, right? So essentially, it's a startup within a company, right? They also sometimes spin off startups from their company so that to give them more freedom, give them funds, and let them be successful on their own, and then acquire them back. So entrepreneurship is not restricted to you having an idea. And does one need to be, I think a critical question, maybe if I was an MBA, if I was looking for an MBA program, the question I would have in mind is that, do I need to be an innovator myself to be an entrepreneur? And the answer is no. The opportunity for management students is the following, that there are lots of people doing innovation, technical innovation, or innovation in agri, healthcare, devices, IoT, etc. And what they lack very sorely is people who have business knowledge, people who can actually do marketing, people who can do sales and understand finances, understand how to run a company, right? So they are in dire need of such partners. I work with an incubator at IIT Bombay. I am a core committee member there. I'm part of their jury panel. And this is what a lot of the innovators struggle with. They come with ideas that are very good. They make POCs, but those POCs don't become very successful in the market because they lack business partners. They lack partners who have MBAs. So that is a third opportunity that I wanted to present to all of you, that's specialization that we offer. And you will find in our faculty, there are about half the faculty have had their own startups. I had my own startup some time back, and which is why I'm playing that role of a mentor at IIT Bombay startups. So with that, I would like to stop. I will take questions. I think there are questions posted on SCM and maybe other areas. I will answer those in the chat box. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Rahul Dighe, for giving a brief idea to all the students on the various specializations. I would now like to invite Professor Srinivas Iyengar, who will talk about artificial intelligence as well as digital transformation. Over to Professor Srinivas Iyengar.
Thank you so much. So I've been in the IT industry last 22 years. And fortunately, last 10, 11 years, I've been a part of building applications using emerging technologies. That includes AI. So a couple of years ago, when I was really looking at building the team which can support us in taking the AI models to the world, and I was going to academia to see if universities can help, I saw that there was a big gap between what students were taught and what was needed by the industry. When I started talking to the Anand Sagar University, I felt that the amount of energy that was there to bridge this gap was extremely high, and Anand Sagar University stood out in bridging this gap. So hence, I also decided to be a part of it, and I'm extremely happy about it. So when I go back to talking about AI, AI is probably the most talked subject in the tech world today. And even in the world, in a general sense, apart from pandemic, probably AI is the one that is talked about quite a bit. Few years ago, there used to be quite a lot of debate whether AI is good for the society. Is AI going to replace humans? Quite a lot of things that were talked about. I'm pretty sure many of you still have thoughts lingering in your minds, isn't it? Whether AI is going to replace humans or not. Industry figured this out a couple of years ago. So we kind of felt that rather than replacing humans, we can augment human intelligence and aid humans in all walks of our lives. So we started building applications which can work backend and support humans in doing or delivering whatever we are doing in a much more better way. And today it's a part of our lives without our knowledge. AI has gone so deep into the industry that if you look at startup events or even technology events, there's no technology event today where AI is not the major part of it. And at the same time, I'm part of many startup events. There's always a condition that is also put in many of the startup events that if your startup is not based on any of the emerging deep tech, including AI, you're not even allowed to participate. So that's the kind of impact AI has today in the industry, right? So if I go to the next slide, I've got a few business cases I'll talk about. I'll talk specifically about healthcare, and I'll also talk about future and why you as MBA students should be focusing on artificial intelligence. And this is going to be an extremely important part of our lives in future. So Professor Rajan, if you can go to the next slide, yeah. So AI is not alien to all of us, whether we like it or not, whether we know it or not. It is part of our day-to-day lives today. Whether you're doing online shopping or you're doing a web search, Google search, for example, is heavily based on AI. So digital personal assistants like Siri. So Siri has two aspects to it. One is the natural language processing, which is the artificial intelligence part of it. And the second one, it is mimicking human voice nowadays. You know, a few years ago, computers would talk like robots. Right? Today, computers talk like human. So there's a part of biomimetrics, which is a part of biology subject, is also a part of Siri. And Siri is a combination of AI and biomimetrics. So today we are building smart homes, extremely AI-based. Your Alexa system that you have, it can manage everything at your house. You have cars. You have healthcare, which is a big part. I've got big case study, but before that, there's one small example that I've given you, which is already making it a big change in our lives, especially when elderly people, when you take them to hospitals, doctors and nurses, they find it extremely difficult to inject because they don't find veins. You know, that used to be a normal thing that doctors would say, no, it was very difficult for us to find veins. Today, the image that you see is a mixed reality, artificial intelligence-based equipment, which is used in every other hospital in Bangalore to find a vein. So it superimposes the vein image right on your hand, so that it becomes that much easy for doctor to inject anything. So, so these are some of the equipments that are already available in the market, which is AI-based. Professor Rajan, if you can click a couple of things. So agriculture is another major area, and also now fighting disinformation, a big area today where AI is being used, and also in agriculture area. I was amazed at the amount of artificial intelligence that is already built in for agriculture space at this point of time. So if I take very specific to healthcare, I'll quickly run through this slide, very interesting slide that is there for you. Professor Rajan, if you can click one more. Can we go to the next slide, please? Yeah. So you can click all the animations. So I'm listing down few of the examples. One fundamental thing that we started working on AI was better diagnosis using digital intelligence, which is nothing but augmented intelligence, wherein when earlier we were building a stroke assessment or something for Alzheimer's or Parkinson's disease, there's so much amount of research that is available with the research units. It is extremely difficult for us to impart all the knowledge to doctors. But if AI is helping them, Professor Rajan, can you go back to previously? So if AI is helping them in augmenting, in analyzing the stroke, or Parkinson's, it becomes that much important, and we can be better in patient care. So there are already a lot of applications which are in production. In the last 2 years, we are working on something called as edge computing, where the equipments that are being used to test patient itself has an AI embedded into it. Today, all the wearables that you're using is all connected devices, and they're all AI-based devices. And even in surgeries, in the surgical rooms, the image that I put in there, the bottom left one, is a very interesting one. Whereas a machine is operating a patient, but doctor is sitting in front of a computer. So that is a Da Vinci machine. In Bengaluru, there are 12 Da Vinci machines which are operating today, and they use AI heavily in those equipments. So we are also working on intelligent data capture and analytics, and digital front door, where robots talk to you in hospitals, are already available, and there are many hospitals worldwide which are using natural language processing as front door assistants to either schedule an appointment or even to collect your insurance papers and process payments for you. So these are some examples that I'm giving you where healthcare is extremely important, and it's already there as a part of healthcare industry, which is a very important aspect of AI implementation today. If we can go to the next slide, please. So in this slide, I'm going to talk about few very interesting aspects. Why is AI required for an MBA? For you to become a specialist in AI, you don't need to be a technologist. You don't need to be a Python programmer. Industry needs MBAs very badly. Like I can't agree more with Professor Raul Dige, who was mentioning that MBAs are extremely important for the industry because they can think in the way that is required by business. On a very lighter note, I'll just give you an example. When decades ago, when technologists invented supercomputers and AI, the first use case that they built was for AI to play chess. So personally, I felt they could have really figured out a better use case. Castro would have still played some more matches with Karpov or Anand. So we could have really done something better to the society. So, but that's on a lighter note. So if you look at all the big tech companies, whether Microsoft or Apple or Google, they are big into AI. They are not technologies companies anymore. They are getting into business quite a bit. So Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, in a statement about a month ago, he was saying, AI is the technology's most important priority, and healthcare is its most urgent application, specifically after pandemic, where they're trying to utilize AI in solving quite a bit of problems that we have today. So he did this when they bought Nuance. Nuance is the natural language processing software company, which is behind Siri, which is used by Apple quite a bit. So Microsoft wants to really make big in natural language processing today. So they're investing a lot of money in that area. Today, we need people for governance, security, privacy, and helping organizations to circumvent all these problems that we have. These are big areas for the industry. And at the same time, businesses today are in a strategic inflection point because of AI, right? So today, if you look at Uber uses AI for fraud detections, risk assessment, matching drivers and riders, route optimizations, marketing spend, and just about everything wherever they can possibly apply AI, they are doing it. And from a taxi business perspective, if you had gone back to an airport taxi company 5 years ago, and if you had said, we'll develop an app, they wouldn't have surely accepted one. But now that Uber is there, now everybody is trying to build an app. So what is a digital enterprise, and how can you really compete with the enterprise which is technically oriented and completely digitized is an extremely important aspect. And every other business is now facing an inflection point, which is quite strategic, and they badly need MBAs to be supporting them. So AI impacting organizations actually worldwide. What we are developing today, for many organizations, it works across countries, and AI is not geographically limited, like the Uber example that I'm giving you today. It has entered the mainstream. A lot of organizations are trying to come up with strategies, but they are in a very early stages. So that's the reason why we felt that they badly need MBAs. And we came up with a curriculum which can really help you solve the bigger problems in the industry and help them circumvent the problem. So what we're going to teach you is not just the fundamentals of AI, we're going to teach you the governance of AI, the privacy and the security aspects of it, how different countries, different continents have come up with policies very specific to AI. And also, we are also giving you a global view of AI and the use cases which are being worked by different countries and different organizations, and so to make you industry ready. So I'll take a pause here. And if you have any questions, I'll look at it.
Thank you so much, Professor Srinivas Iyengar. Good to give an exposure in terms of the much talked about specializations on artificial intelligence, and of course the buzzword that is going around, that is the digital transformation. It's a good exposure for all the prospects to understand how the specialized MBA program, specialized job role based MBA program at DSU has been placed across for them to look at it and take a career choice with us. Thank you so much. We now move on to the most important, and that's what I've also been seeing a lot of questions being coming across from students in terms of career opportunities, placements, salary packages, and all that. Yes, so now it's time that we look at addressing that, and we would like to invite the next speaker, Professor Anand Popli, who will talk about the career opportunities and placements at Dayanand Sagar University. Over to you, Professor Anand.
Thank you, Mr. Shinde, and good morning all again. You have been, listening to a lot of information, and I have seen a lot of questions on placements already, right? And which are very relevant questions on placement. See, we don't really see placement as an isolated activity, as an isolated last semester activity. Okay, and I will explain you why. Can you go to the next slide, Professor Rajan? Yeah, just state that. Yeah, that should be fine. So typically, placement is seen, if you see the boxes here, right? In most institutions, actually, management or non-management, placement activity is seen as an industry outreach, calling companies and putting in students in front of companies, right? We don't see placement just like that, because that is a very simple thing to do, because we have a large number of companies in our database. We know who they are. We can reach out to them, we can invite them, and easiest thing for us to put you in front of them. So we don't do that, right? Because see, whatever you have heard so far, right? Supply chain, AI, ML, data, fintech, right? And so on and so forth. Everything has to culminate into right profiling and right preparation for placement, right? So we take responsibility of two other things. You can see student profile upliftment and placement preparation, right? Now, how do we do that? I think you already heard a lot, but in addition to that, right, there are a lot of non-academic activities. When I say non-academic, I think everything's academic here, but activities which are not related to your courses and syllabus, right? So there are a lot of things actually go on in preparing your profile for placement, and that starts from the first semester. We don't see placement as a fourth semester activity, right? So the current batch that we have, they've already gone through several preparational activity for placement, right? So what do? So we actually do help you uplift your profile, because let's face it, many of you will come from diverse background. Some of you may not have had great academic record, but that does not matter, right? What matters is what we can do once you join DSU MBA, right? What we can do together, right? So first thing we do is to uplift your profile, because I think all the speakers that have spoken so far, without any exceptions, have come from the industry with a wealth of experience, right? So we exactly know what is industry looking for, right? So what we do is, and several, all of us have actually recruited a large number of freshers from the industry in our careers. So first thing what we do is to do an assessment, not really profiling you, but do an assessment where each one of you stand, right? In terms of a very, very specific set of parameters which are relevant for your personal and professional development, like communication skill, critical thinking, academic performance, the project work that you have done, any internship that you have done, right? General awareness, your awareness of technology, body language, how much confidence you exude, and so on and so forth. So we do a structured assessment only for you to know where you stand, right? And it's very constructive. It is not negative. It is very constructive. And that assessment, we continue to do it every semester, right? This is not part of your marks or academic performance in MBA. This is purely to tell you, where you are, when, and where we can collectively take you together, right? So that assessment is done, and then you are assigned a mentor, faculty mentor. Some of us, all of us actually in this group become mentor, and we have a very, very strong list of mentor. So every student gets a faculty mentor, and what that faculty mentor does is to help develop student professionally, right? In terms of all the aspects which are relevant for your professional success, right? Not only for placement, because this is very easy exercise. If we see only placement, we would like you to become a successful management professional, right? So for your professional success, so that mentorship goes on from the first semester till you go out of the institute, right? And it has an individualized attention. And then to lift your profile, because to lift your profile, your resume should look very strong. Other than your all your professional and personal capabilities, your resume should look very, very strong. So I think you've already heard about several certifications that we have embedded as part of program, which actually sit on your resume, right? So when you do the certification, not only your knowledge goes up, but when a potential potential recruitment sees your resume, you stand apart, right? You stand out, right? So first thing we do is the student profile upliftment. This happens for everybody, right? Obviously, your participation is very important, but all these programs are mandatory for everybody, right? And these come at no additional cost. Second is placement preparation. We see student profile upliftment different from placement preparation, because placement preparation is again preparation how you crack placements actually, right? So we do something called industry preparedness program. I will share the details in the next slide, just in a minute. An industry preparedness program is delivered entirely by the professionals from the industry, people who are at senior levels in the industry. They know exactly what is going on in the industry at that point in time. So for example, when we did IPP last year, right, from last year to this year, things have gradually, and from this year to next year, things are going to change, right? So what is prevalent in what is most prevalent in the industry has to be known by students for them to be ready to face the industry, right? So that actually is a very, very important aspect, right? And this is completely homegrown with a lot of thought process. We have developed this program. I will share the details in a minute. Just two points I want to emphasize again is this is entirely driven by the people from the industry, and this is in addition to the courses that are taught in the class, right? And other than that, for the placement preparation, all of us, increasingly there are a large number of students actually are chasing the same job. So aptitude test preparation, is very, very important, because if you don't clear aptitude itself, right, you are out, right? So aptitude test preparation happens from the first semester again. So first semester we have course 12 to 16 hours of class on aptitude test, and there's a platform. You can take test as many number of times as you want. Then second semester again we do the same thing, third semester, and so on and so forth, right? And then mock interviews and group discussion preparation, right? That also there is ample opportunity to do that. We again get people who are experts in this. And then we have a student placement cell. Why is student placement cell important for the placement preparation, right? Because while the entire responsibility of placement lies with us, but we also want you to have some accountability, right? Because once you have when you interact with the company, right, when you talk to companies to invite them and come to our campus, right, to recruit to recruit our students, you get a very good idea about what they are looking for, right? So then you can actually propagate that among your colleagues and students actually, right? So we also have student-led placement cell, which is functional. Now the easiest part actually, right, that I said, industry outreach, we have as a university, we have more than 3,500 list of companies, right? Because we have a very successful engineering program other than MBA program. But for MBA, we have curated a list of about 2,000 companies that we reach out every year, right? And this year, for example, we have got about 200 companies. Mind this year actually has been very bad in general, right? Because pandemic has been there, throughout for about 3-4 months. It kind of subsided, but again it is back again, right? We have had about 200 companies visit this year itself, right, for full-time offers as well as internship, right? And we as of now sit at about 60% of placement for this year itself, right? And we are in the middle of May. By end of June, beginning of July, we are very confident we'll reach 80% plus even in this year, right? And we'll probably cross 85% this year too, right? Salary ranges, a lot of people have asked this question, right? And some people have asked question, what is the salary for HR? So actually, I would not like you to look at salary for a specialization. You should choose a specialization what you think you are good at. And our, as I said, first step, student profile upliftment and the assessment and the mentorship will actually help you decide which specialization is right for you, right? You don't choose a specialization looking at, for example, if you may not be successful in marketing, for example, right? If you don't have those traits, but you may be very successful in HR, right? And what kind of salary you command entirely depends on your profile, right? We get all kinds of companies, MNCs, Indian companies, from various industrial sectors, right? And what kind of salaries you are going they will pay is actually how better prepared we are, right? But nevertheless, salaries range from 4 lakhs. This year average salary has been 5.5 lakhs, right? And this is only increasing every year. Every year we are seeing shift in this, right? And because we are also improvising the program, there is a lot of effort to improvise the program. We have a very good industry connect, right? So these are some of the information about placement. I just want to kind of underscore that placement related activities are not only a last semester exercise for us, right? We focus on placement right from the first semester. That does not mean you get job from the first semester, no, right? But your preparation for placement has to start from the first semester. Third, fourth semester is too late, and we are very serious about it. We have a separate function doing this, right? I had that, and there is a lot of support from management all the way up to the top of the institution, and we are very successfully doing what we are planning. Next slide, please. So this is industry preparedness program, right? Now the purpose of this program is to expose you to the industry, right? Because see, thing is, what happens is what we have seen, and in my 30-year-long career, in internationally and in India, what I've seen is actually when we go and I've gone to IIMs to recruit, including IIMs actually, right? When you go to institution, students have very little understanding of what is happening in the industry, right? And student actually which has a good idea about what is happening in the industry generally catches the attention of the recruiter. This happened, I have seen 100 out of 100 times, right? So what we have done is we have come up with a very robust, very detailed industry preparedness program, which again runs from the first semester only, right? First, second, and third semester. Fourth semester we don't do it, because fourth semester you are working on placements and so, and you are doing projects, right? And you are also doing internship. So what we do is first we tell what does industry expect from fresh MBAs, right? So there are several solutions on that. Global business environment. Again, I said global business environment is changing, right? Globalization was happening, still happening, but right, protectionism also has kicked in now, right? And now pandemic has happened. What is going to happen as a result of pandemic, right? We can expose you to all that. Again, all the predictions, what analysts are saying, and so on and so forth, right? Then knowledge about, see, total industry divided into industry verticals and horizontals, right? So when you study specialization, finance, marketing, HR, supply chain, IT, these are called horizontals. These are there in all industries, right? But then there are industry verticals: banking and financial services and insurance, e-commerce and retail, management consulting and IT, manufacturing, consumer brands, healthcare, right? There is hospitality, oil and gas, logistics, right? So there are several industry verticals. That list goes on. What we give you is that what are different industry verticals, right? Because you have to have a very good idea about what industry verticals are. When we say what industry verticals, what kind of companies? For example, financial services is banking, right? It has research firms, it has investment firms, right? It has insurance firms, it has regulators, and so on and so forth. So there are several type of companies operating in financial services alone, right? And similarly, e-commerce and retail, management consulting and IT, manufacturing. So we will tell you what these industries are, what kind of job roles are there in the industry, right? So that you should have a very good idea what it takes you to join that industry, what kind of specialization, right, you need to join that industry, right? What kind of tools and processes and technologies, right? I think several of my colleagues talked about it already, but what kind of tools and processes and technologies which are prevalent in these industries, right? So we will not teach you that, but we'll make you aware, right? So all the idea about that for some top 8 to 10 industry will give you, right? As part of IPP. Then similar thing for the business functions, finance, for example, finance function. If you see finance has several functions. So finance has budgeting and planning. It has a controllership. It has a treasury. It has a compliance. It has operations, right? To several functions, audit and compliance. So several functions of are there in finance. You need to have a very good idea about sub functions. So while you will be studying your courses, when you study finance, you will be studying accounting, trial balance, balance sheet, cash flows, valuation, time value of money, and so on and so forth. But how they are used in the industry, and which function actually requires knowledge of which aspect is very important thing to know, right? While again, I want to say that industry preparedness program is separate from the theoretical and the courses which are taught to you in as part of your curriculum, right? This is purely industry focused, right? Similarly, marketing, HR, supply chain, what kind of roles are there? What are the sub functions within HR? Same thing for IT, same thing for supply chain. So we'll tell you about business functions. And then whether you whichever profession you are today, you must have a good idea about technologies, right? Good idea of technology does not mean you have to become an IT professional, no, right? Because robotic process automation, as a business management professional, you need to know what is RPA is, right? Because when you grow in that industry, you will know how RPA should be used, right? So we'll expose you to technologies, right? So for example, we have a specialization in artificial intelligence and data analytics, but you also need to know about agile, robotic process automation, cyber security, cloud, right? AR, VR, and so on and so forth. So we will do I've listed only a few things here. We will do sessions on these, right? To expose you cryptocurrency, blockchain, right? So what these technologies are, how they are used in the business, what are the business case, what are the use cases of these technologies in the business. And again, these are all delivered from the experts from the industry. And then And then we will talk about stuff like mock interviews and group discussion and so on and so forth, right? And then we have on the right side I have listed some certifications that we'll do as part of industry preparedness program, and these certifications are completely developed by us, and these are for you to have so that you can target specific roles in the industry, right? So I will not get into too much detail about that, but I think suffices to say that other than certification that we have talked about, there will be additional certifications. For example, advanced financial statement analysis and valuation and audit and control. There's a certification that we did last week, and people who have done that certification, they did very well in an interview with KPMG, right? So that's another thing. Next slide, please. So a lot of questions among the list of companies, right? So I just want to say that these are only a short list of companies. We have had about 200 companies visited this year. These are very companies from diverse sectors visit us every year, right? Just wanted to say that it is not only 2 or 3 companies visiting us and they are taking truckloads of students. We have plenty of opportunities for students to choose from Biocon, which is in healthcare, to Flipkart, which is in e-commerce, Airtel, which is in telecommunication, ClearTax, financial services, PwC works in several segments. Cargill is a very big international firm in logistics and supply chain and so on and so forth. So that's it about placement and career planning, and I'm happy to take questions actually as you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Anand Popli, for giving a brief, a very clear action plan when it comes to the career opportunities as well as the placement preparation at Dayanand Sagar University. It's a good information to all the students to understand that placement is a journey. It's not just a destination. Students need to work and make themselves presentable, make themselves ready for these industries. Getting them opportunity is never a problem at DSU. But what is more important is the fitment. And I'm sure that if the students, especially the ones who are coming in for a PG course, they need to understand that not many further look at studies beyond that. Some, of course, do looking for a PhD or maybe an MPhil kind of thing. But looking at an MBA is where the ultimate destination is to get into a good company. And that's where the knowledge portion today is more important. And with the kind of specializations that we are introducing, specializations which talk about the new economy, how the fitment is there with this. So I'm sure students will definitely think seriously about this. So thank you so much for your details about the entire planning and the placement process at DSU.
Thank you, sir.
I would now like to invite our Dean, Captain Professor Nagaraj Rao, to sum it up.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shinde, and wonderfully organized. And thank you all participants for being here. My colleagues, Professor Alok, Professor Ravi Shankar Iyer, Professor Dige, Professor Srinivas Iyengar, Professor Popli, for spending time in explaining many of the activities here at Dayanand Sagar University. And like Mr. Shinde so rightly said, it's journey. It's a journey of learning. It's a journey of preparing yourself. All of you are young men and women with great futures in a great country. And as the pandemic lifts, as we go forward, you will find that the economy will rebound.
Captain, we lost you. I think.
Yeah, you should join back.
Sure. So, while Captain comes in, let me also quickly inform the students that here are the list of specializations that are being offered.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yes, Captain, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I had a slight internet outage. And, it's good to understand that we are doing a great deal in aligning industry requirements and what students require. So look at our school very closely, because like I said, get a galaxy of faculty who are brilliant, and learning from such people will take you far in your career in life. Also, there have been questions coming in whether we would give a certificate for this webinar. And I think it's a great question. It's a great thought. So if any of you want a certificate for this particular webinar, please write to Professor V.V. Rajan at vvrajan, that is vvrajan at dsu.edu.in. And we will be glad to share you an e-certificate, which you can sort of carry with you. But I would like to once again thank all participants and urge you to look at Dayanand Sagar University School of Commerce and Management Studies MBA program. I would also like to mention that we have pretty much the most successful executive MBA program for working professionals. That is, we get professionals from over 400 companies, whether they are from Boeing to Airbus to Bueller to Cargill to Hewlett Packard. Any of the top MNCs from across the world have got their employees at my school, at our school, at Dayanand Sagar University School of Commerce and Management Studies. So you are going to be rubbing shoulders with employees who are, say, some of them are CEOs, some of them are vice presidents, some of them are mid-level managers, but they all come to Dayanand Sagar University because it's a great school and because they believe that they get a fantastic education here. So thank you very much indeed. And back to you, Shinde sir, and please take it.
So thank you so much. So we'd like to invite all the students, in case you find this interesting, you can see that yes, your future, your career is going to be in safe hands, something which is quite focused, quite well planned. We would like to invite you to visit our website, www.dsu.edu.in, and there'll be more details about the programs. You can fill in your applications so that we can have a career guidance expert calling you and guiding you through the journey. Any more information that you want, you could always write to us. The email IDs are available in the website where you could write to us, and we will get back to you soon on this. I'd like to thank all the speakers for today's session and for their valuable time and to spare their thoughts to give a wonderful guidance to all our participants for today. We have been actually receiving a lot of queries from all the students who have come in as lead, who have come in or who have already had the paid applications to us. We thought the seminar would definitely help them to understand the way we move ahead, the way we have planned the entire 2 years program with us. So thank you to all the speakers. And I would like to thank the students, especially, who have taken their time to attend this and encourage us to come up with more sessions like this. So thank you very much. And a big thanks to all the support teams, especially Mr. Imtiaz and Mr. Ali, for the wonderful support that they have given online. It is not easy today to conduct online sessions in a professional manner when you know that there's a lot of glitches happening. But yes, we have been doing this every Saturday, every Sunday. So thanks a lot to the support team, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you very much.